Hey, what's going on, guys? This Saturday is UFC 297, Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis for the middleweight title, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. I've already done a full card prediction video. I will link that down in the description as well as the end cards if you want to go check it out after this. This is a very interesting, compelling matchup. This is the fight that should have been made by the UFC, and this is a matchup that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, would have just been unfathomable. I mean, who would have ever thought Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis for an undisputed middleweight title back in June of 2023? Who would have ever thought that? Sean Strickland wasn't expected to even get a middleweight title shot in 2023, let alone win. Dricus Du Plessis wasn't expected to get past Robert Whittaker, let alone go out there and brutalize him. And now, even after Strickland beats Adesanya, there was talk of Du Plessis not getting his earned title shot. There was talks of an Adesanya rematch, a Hamzat fight for Strickland. The UFC finally, maybe because of Hamzat's injury and Adesanya waiting out, or maybe the UFC came to their senses, they make the right fight in Strickland versus Du Plessis, and you have such a compelling, hard-to-predict matchup, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. You have the technical boxing ability of Sean Strickland versus Du Plessis, who just comes out like an absolute maniac, like an absolute savage, and moves forward and looks to KO you. I cannot wait for this fight. If you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Sean Strickland, who's 28-5. Du Plessis is 20-2. Strickland's the champ. Du Plessis is ranked number 2. Strickland is 32. Du Plessis is 30. They're both 6'1" and have a 76-inch reach. If you look at Du Plessis overall, 20 wins, 9 by knockout, 10 by submission, 1 by decision. Of his 2 losses, 1 by knockout and 1 by submission. You look at Sean Strickland, 28 wins, 11 by knockout, 4 by submission, 13 via decision. Of his 5 losses, twice by knockout, 3 by decision. So Du Plessis is a crazy finisher. I mean, the fact that he has 19 out of 20 wins via finish is incredible. And Strickland, obviously, historically, especially against top-level talent, is an absolute decision machine, coming off that decision victory against Israel Adesanya. For this matchup, I flipped and flopped back and forth. But what I really think will tell me who's going to win this matchup as I'm watching it. When you start watching a fight and you start watching it play out, before we know, who's going to, what's going to happen exactly, we don't get a whole lot of information just yet. What will tell me who's going to win this fight early on when we're watching it, by the way, I'll be live streaming it if you want to join me on Saturday night, is who dictates the forward pressure. Whoever is moving forward in this fight will be winning this fight. That is what I see when I watch tape of both Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. They do their best work when they're moving forward. Strickland moving forward at a solid pace, picking you apart at boxing range. Dricus Du Plessis just blitzing forward, throwing big, wild-winging shots. I would have loved to see Du Plessis versus a prime Yoel Romero. That would have been an incredible matchup. But for my official prediction for this fight, I'm going Dricus Du Plessis by second round KO. I just think that Strickland's going to come out. I think he's going to maybe try to be a little bit too aggressive. And I think that's not going to work out for him. I think he's going to come into this fight. I think he's going to fight a bit emotional. And even if he doesn't, we know Du Plessis is not going to take a step back. And do we really see Sean Strickland chinning Du Plessis? I mean, when's the last time Sean Strickland has gotten a TKO, a legitimate TKO? I know technically the Abuse win. And I know people are going to say, Joey, how could you not remember Abuse? Look, Abuse was exhausted. He was absolutely exhausted. That was a TKO due to exhaustion. He gassed himself out. He has no gas tank. He doesn't even arguably even belong in the UFC. That's his level of gas tank. So then you go down the ranks. Nasruddin Imavov, decision win. Loses to Jared Cannonier in a decision. Gets KO'd by Alex Pereira. Decision win over Jack Hermanson. Decision win over Uriah Hall. Decision win over Christoph Jocko. His last TKO is against Brendan Allen, which, fair enough, it's aged quite well. But it's not like Strickland has this ungodly power where, he's definitely going to go out there and chin Dricus. I think if Strickland gets a TKO in this fight, it's due to exhaustion. I think I could see Du Plessis getting tired late 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, and Strickland getting a TKO. My early prediction for this fight, when this fight was initially announced, was a late TKO for Sean Strickland. But as I'm watching the tape, I'm going back and watching some of these Sean Strickland performances. Okay, the Israel Adesanya fight, it was a great performance by Sean Strickland. I think that's a bit of an aberration. Adesanya, I don't think he took him that seriously. And also, Adesanya is a completely different stylistic matchup than Du Plessis. Adesanya likes to fight off the back foot and fought right into Sean Strickland's game in that fight. And Strickland went out there, dropped him in the 1st round. After that, it wasn't, I know it was a surprising performance, but it's not like he went out there and just beat the brakes off him for all 5 rounds. I really think Adesanya took him lightly. Adesanya was expecting to fight Du Plessis. Adesanya thought it was an easy win, and he went out there and learned the hard way against Sean Strickland. And I think before the Adesanya fight, I think Strickland was criminally underrated. And now I think after the Adesanya fight, I think Strickland is criminally overrated. You look at some of the fights before that. Abus Magomedov, the first round, Abus is charging forward, landing teep kicks, landing with the hands, chopping the legs badly, all while pressing forward. And I noticed when you back Sean Strickland up, he's very hard to hit because he kind of uses his arms to deflect a lot of the shots and parry a lot of the shots away. But if you press him backwards, some of those shots find their homes. And if you end with a kick like Abus was doing, chopping the legs, throwing combinations upstairs, you would have Strickland deflecting and then throwing a kick and landing hard on Sean Strickland's leg versus trying to just back up against the fence and pump the jab and throw a leg kick like Adesanya was trying to do, or trying to set up counters like Adesanya is going to do. You look at the Nasruddin Imavov fight. When Nasruddin pressed forward, he had success. He would start to get tired, but when he pressed forward, Sean Strickland would feel a little bit uncomfortable and clinch with Nasruddin Imavov. Now, Strickland clearly won that fight, but I'm just saying he mixed in that clinch. His last loss against Jarrett Cannonier won this fight because of the fact that he was unwilling to back up. Sean Strickland, when he's not moving forward at a pace that he sets, he's not having all that much success. And I know the Jarrett Cannonier fight was razor thin. I thought Jarrett Cannonier won that fight, but I saw it when I rewatched that fight. I'm watching Jarrett Cannonier press forward, land leg kicks, land big shots with the hands, all while Strickland's deflecting with his forearms and trying to parry it away. And I just really believe, I saw it a little bit in the Jack Hermanson fight as well. When you press Sean Strickland, you can find shots on the feet. He's very hard to hit when you sit back and play his game. But guess what Dricus Du Plessis' style is best at? Pressing forward, blitzing forward, and throwing big shots. And I think Strickland in this fight, he's not the greatest counter shot striker. I don't think he's going to go out there and be able to back away and boom, nasty KO shot like Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker as Whittaker's, rushing in. Du Plessis is a physical beast at 185 pounds. He's massive, he's strong, and he's durable as well. We've seen him take a lot of big shots. And I know he hasn't looked great. You look at, honestly, rewatching Du Plessis' fights, I can't believe he's fighting for a title, and I can't believe I'm picking him to win. Against Robert Whittaker, even in that win, which was a flawless win essentially, he still looks super sloppy, but he goes out there, he presses forward, he lands a big shot against Robert Whittaker, and then he goes out there and finishes him, even mixed in the grappling at the end of the first round. Ragdolled Robert Whittaker to the ground, started beating him up with elbows. The fight against Derek Brunson, he had moments where he got ragdolled in the grappling by Derek Brunson, but you have to remember how good Derek Brunson is in his wrestling game. He out-wrestled Yoel Romero. Derek Brunson's a very good wrestler, and inevitably, Dricus Du Plessis, with his heart, with his will, with his forward pressure, went out there and stopped Derek Brunson, had his team throwing in the towel. The same thing against Darren Till, and went out there and finished Darren Till in the third round. And I do believe a bit of the stamina narrative surrounding Du Plessis was a bit of a hoax, because the body language of Du Plessis didn't really match up with the way that he was fighting in the third round against Darren Till, even in the third round against Brad Tavares. I do believe Du Plessis kind of undersold the cardio thing and said, oh, well, I got my nose fixed and I'm much better. I do believe the cardio is a little bit of an issue. I don't trust this cardio 100% against Sean Strickland, but I do believe it was an overblown issue based on the fact that he was breathing out of his mouth in the body language. Now, that doesn't mean I think Dricus Du Plessis is going to be able to go 5 hard rounds with Sean Strickland. I do worry that if Du Plessis goes out there and looks to bulldoze Strickland in the first 2 rounds, I could see him getting tired. I could see it in the late third round, Strickland starting to pick up the pace, because if you remember the second round against Darren Till, where Darren Till started to have some offense against Du Plessis, if that's Strickland's not going to let up. He's going to keep going after you, and Strickland's never going to get tired. So I do worry, as this fight gets later, I start to favor Sean Strickland. But overall, for Du Plessis, I just think, the physicality of Du Plessis, I also think he has more ways to win. I think Du Plessis obviously can get a TKO. I think Du Plessis could find a submission. And I also think Du Plessis could win a decision. I think he could win the first 3 rounds, maybe lose the last 2 rounds. But ultimately, what I think is going to happen is you're going to have Strickland, who's used to fighting decent technical strikers and boxing with boxers and sparring with all these different fighters. Du Plessis unorthodox. He's wild and crazy on the feet, and he has nasty power. And he'll string together these combinations from weird angles. Like he'll rush forward and square up his hips and just throw all these different combinations. And Strickland, and even in some of the fights I watched of Strickland, even against Jared Cannonier, when you rush Strickland sometimes, he'll switch stances as he's starting to back up and kind of square up his hips as well. And I just see in one of these moments, as Du Plessis starts to blitz forward, I think he's going to clip Sean Strickland with a nasty shot on the feet. I think he's going to drop him, and then I think he's going to follow him to the ground and TKO him. I also could see Dricus following him to the ground and looking for a submission. I mean, he took Robert Whittaker down, immediately starting to look to lock up a Darce or some type of guillotine of some sort. He has decent jiu-jitsu. He has a decent amount of submissions as well on his record, 10 submissions overall in his pro MMA career. But I just think Du Plessis can go out there and essentially just put the pace on Sean Strickland. I know that sounds crazy, but Strickland is best when he's fighting at his pace. When he's moving forward and it's this like slow to medium pace and he's just boxing you up. He's pumping the jab. I think Du Plessis is not going to allow him to fight at that pace. I don't see Du Plessis taking steps back. Now, I do wonder, and the reason I went with second round TKO, and I think it's going to be like a late second round TKO, I do wonder if Du Plessis is going to have it in his mind, okay, this is a 5-round fight. I'm worried. I want to make sure I can go 5 rounds. You know, I believe I can win this fight. I want to make sure I can go 5 rounds. So I do think Du Plessis might try to be a little bit more conservative in the first round. But then I think when he realizes, okay, when I'm moving forward, I'm starting to have some success, I think he'll start to be more aggressive in that second round. And I just see him backing Strickland up, Strickland trying to deflect with his forearms and try to parry away, maybe switching stances as he's going backwards, squaring up his hips. And I see Du Plessis landing a big overhand shot and dropping Sean Strickland. And I think he's going to brutally KO him with ground and pound. I think he's going to knock Sean Strickland out cold. It's not going to be a TKO. It's going to be knocking him out cold with the follow-up shots on the ground. And also, I think Du Plessis can mix in the grappling. You look back to the Abus fight, Abus shot through, or not, didn't really shoot through Sean Strickland. He took him down from the clinch position and took his back immediately. Now, Strickland did scramble right back to his feet, but Du Plessis, he's so big, he's so strong. If he gets a takedown, I think he will control Sean Strickland a bit. Now, getting that takedown is going to be the difficult part because Sean Strickland does have very good takedown defense. But I just think Du Plessis, in this fight, I like his chances because he can put it all together. And I've doubted him time and time again. I mean, I looked throughout his career. I picked Robert Whittaker to beat him. I picked Derek Brunson to beat him. I picked Darren Till to beat him. I picked Brad Tavares to beat him. That's as far back as I remember. I picked against him all those fights. And every single time he's proven me wrong. And I'm looking at Sean Strickland. I'm looking at his overall career. Outside of the Israel Adesanya win, what's his best win on his resume? You know, the best fighters he's ever fought, Jared Cannonier and Alex Pereira, got KO'd by one of them and lost the decision to Jared Cannonier. And honestly, I would favor Jared Cannonier to beat him again. So Du Plessis, with the heart, with the durability, with the physicality, with the more well-rounded skill set as well, even though he is very sloppy, even though I don't trust his cardio, I think he gets it done. I think he's going to hurt Sean Strickland. And if Strickland comes out there and tries to fight emotionally, let's say Strickland decides, you know what, I'm going to be very aggressive early. I'm going to press forward early. I could see Dricus getting him out of there in the first round. And that's why I also worry about Strickland's kind of emotion going into this fight, which I usually don't take into account. But Strickland's obviously messed up in the head. And I wonder if Strickland tries to be super aggressive, which isn't typically his style, I see Dricus Du Plessis making him pay for that. So I really just think in this fight, Du Plessis has more ways to win. I think he can win decision. I think he can win via submission. I think he can win via TKO or KO. And Strickland, I feel like he can only win via decision or maybe a late round TKO because Dricus is just completely exhausted, maybe trying to finish Strickland. Maybe Strickland survives an early barrage and then Strickland, the momentum changes and he comes back and beats Du Plessis. But ultimately, I think Du Plessis gets it done. I think in one of those blitzes, in one of those exchanges on the feet, I think Du Plessis is going to hurt Strickland bad. And I also see Du Plessis early in the first round, similar to what he did against Robert Whittaker. I see him maybe mixing in a takedown as well, just to get Sean Strickland thinking about it. And also, Du Plessis has some heavy kicks as well. And when you're pressing forward on Sean Strickland, you can land those kicks. You kind of distract them with some combinations up top. You throw a heavy leg kick like Abus Magomedov. We've seen that in that fight where Adesanya is just kind of hanging back. and trying to throw leg kicks, Sean Strickland seeing him coming from a mile away. I think Du Plessis can utilize his kicks. He has very good kicks to the body and very good leg kicks as well. And I think with that forward pressure, he can utilize them a little bit more. And I just think he gets it done. I don't think Sean Strickland wins this fight unless Du Plessis gasses himself out and gets finished in the 4th or 5th round. Or maybe, Strickland wins the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. That's how I would see Strickland winning. Like, if I was going to predict Strickland to win right now, I'd probably pick him winning the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, winning via decision after Du Plessis gasses himself out after the first 2 rounds. But again, I don't think Du Plessis' cardio is as bad as we made it out to be over the last few years. And I think he goes out there, I think he presses forward, I think he backs Sean Strickland up, and I think he lands one on the chin, hurts him badly, follows him to the ground, and puts him out cold with ground and pound shots. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who are you predicting to win this fight? I think this is a very difficult fight to predict. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, I'll be live on Saturday watching UFC 297 with you guys. So if you care to join me on Saturday night, make sure you turn on notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.